Villains are supposed to be wrong. But what happens when they actually make sense? Lex Luthor seems to be egoistic, but if you remove the biasness, what he's actually arguing is deeply uncomfortable and disturbingly rational.
Enough already.
You maniac!
Superman is never held accountable. He isn't even human, yet he holds more power than every military on Earth combined. That's terrifying. Luthor's point is that Superman exists outside the entire framework of human accountability, and the whole of humanity completely depends on him. Defense innovations, technological advancement, modern warfare, everything seems so pointless. Luthor believes this dependency slowly rots human progress. Civilizations evolve through adversity, tough times create strong men, but Superman erases every potential adversity. Then comes the disturbing question. What if his mind shifts and he transforms to the bad guy? There is nothing strong enough to stop him, no infrastructure capable of resisting him at full power. And alternate timelines prove it. In the Justice Lord's reality, Superman does cross the line. He executes Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's fear is about sovereignty, about self-determination, about whether humanity can truly grow while living under the shadow of a benevolent god. Slade dismantles Robin psychologically, and the uncomfortable part is that he's not entirely wrong. Robin presents himself as the disciplined leader, but under pressure, that leadership cracks. He makes unilateral decisions for the greater good without trusting his team.
See, Robin? There's no one here. There never was.
Slade recognizes something darker. Robin isn't driven purely by justice. He's driven by a need to win, to dominate, to prove he's in control of every variable in the room. Especially when it comes to Slade. His obsession compromises him. Slade doesn't create these flaws, he exploits them. Robin's refusal to share burdens fractures trust. And in a team built on cooperation, a leader who cannot let go becomes the greatest risk of all. Slade's argument isn't that Robin is evil. It's that Robin is one bad step away from becoming exactly what he hates. Victor Fries wasn't a madman. He was a scientist trying to save his wife, who was terminally ill. Cryogenic preservation was her only chance. Then corporate reality stepped in. Ferris Boyle, the CEO funding the research, shut the project down because it wasn't profitable. When Fries refused to comply, Boyle assaulted him. And in the struggle, Fries was kicked into the cryogenic chemicals that mutated his body, destroyed his normal physiology, and trapped him in a cold-dependent existence. After being stripped of his wife and his humanity in the same night, Fries never remained Fries anymore. He became Mr. Freeze. Freeze's crimes are undeniably extreme, but they're reactionary. At first glance, Lord Business looks like a control freak, but underneath the satire is a disturbingly logical fear.
It's not personal. It's just business. Lord Business.
The Master Builders create without limits. They mash worlds together with no structural integrity and no safety considerations. Pirates next to skyscrapers, Western towns fused to spacecraft. It's creative, but it's unstable. From Lord Business's perspective, that is negligence. Without standardized systems, society becomes unlivable for ordinary citizens. Buildings fall apart. Nothing is predictable. And when nothing is predictable, nothing is safe. Order is what allows civilizations to function. That's why his philosophy isn't born purely from malice. Lord Business believes freedom without structure leads to entropy, and entropy eventually leads to ruin. Kent Mansley is from a period where nuclear destruction was a realistic possibility.
That missile is targeted to the Giant's current position! Where's the Giant, Mansley?
Now imagine that climate, and then imagine a 50-foot alien machine crashing into American soil. Self-repairing, indestructible, armed with energy cannons capable of leveling armies. That's a potential weapon of mass destruction. Mansley's job is threat assessment, and the Iron Giant is a potential threat. Unknown origin, unknown intent, overwhelming firepower. Trusting it because a child says, "he's nice," is sheer negligence. And in a war environment, this means putting everything at risk. The Giant may choose not to be a gun, but he is built like one. Governments cannot operate on hope. They operate on worst-case scenarios. If that machine is a foreign asset, failing to neutralize it would risk thousands of lives. Given the circumstances, Mansley's fear is valid, and so are his actions. Ra's al Ghul isn't wrong about the diagnosis.
Trained. Allow me to introduce myself. I am he who is called Ra's al Ghul.
From Ra's perspective, humanity behaves like a parasite. It spreads, extracts, multiplies, and leaves devastation behind. Governments promise reform, but none are made. Corporations prioritize quarterly gains over long-term survival. Environmental protections are weakened the moment they become inconvenient. The system corrects nothing but accelerates everything. Ra's sees centuries of evidence that gradual reform doesn't work. Political leaders are too corrupt. Citizens are too complacent. Economic systems are too dependent on endless growth. The destruction is baked in. So he proposes the unthinkable. If the disease is humanity, then drastic reduction is the cure.
I am quite real. And as I am sure you realize by now, my reputation for resourcefulness is...
The solution is monstrous, but the reasoning is solid. The planet is in crisis, and human civilization, as currently structured, is unsustainable. Ra's al Ghul simply takes that logic to its most extreme, ruthless conclusion. Adrian Veidt isn't impulsive, emotional, or insane. In his world, diplomacy has failed, political negotiations have collapsed, and even the presence of superheroes hasn't prevented escalation. From Veidt's perspective, global nuclear conflict is an inevitability. And nuclear war would mean extinction. Entire continents would be reduced to radioactive ash, and human civilization would likely be erased within hours.
This is where we debate Earth's destiny.
Veidt approaches the crisis with a logical thought. If a full-scale nuclear exchange would kill billions and potentially end the human species, then a smaller, controlled catastrophe that forces global unity might represent the lesser evil. So he engineers a catastrophic event so terrifying that rival superpowers immediately abandon their hostilities and unite out of mutual self-preservation. The act itself is horrific. Millions of innocent people die instantly, sacrificed to sell the illusion of a greater danger. His logic represents the extreme endpoint of utilitarian ethics. If sacrificing millions ensures the survival of billions, then the equation becomes clear. Darkseid doesn't see himself as a conqueror, he sees himself as a solution.
I want you to see your adopted homeworld bowed down.
Man has been given free will. And what do they do with it? Wage wars, exploit the weak, build empires, collapse them, repeat the cycle endlessly. To Darkseid, this pattern is the problem. Free will is the flaw in the equation. The anti-life equation offers what no hero ever truly achieves: permanent peace. Strip away choice and you strip away jealousy, rebellion, greed, and violence. No one can betray you if they can't choose betrayal. No one can start a war if they can't choose aggression. From a logical perspective, he's correct. If conflict stems from autonomous decision-making, then removing autonomy eliminates conflict at its root. None of these characters are justified in what they did, but their arguments expose real fears about power, control, corruption, survival, and human nature itself. And maybe that's what makes them compelling. Not that they were right, but that they weren't entirely wrong.